Just weeks before our wedding, my fiancée asked me to attend a therapy session with her. She had been seeing a therapist on her own for a while, but had never shared much about those sessions. Now she wanted me to join her for a discussion where we could be completely honest with each other. That struck me as odd. I had always believed we were already honest, especially since we were about to get married. Also, she had always been very private about her therapy, so suddenly inviting me felt off. Regardless, I agreed. On the day of the session, I arrived to find my fiancé already there. I had to wait 20 minutes before being invited in. As a precaution, I discreetly started recording audio on my phone. When I finally entered, the therapist greeted me warmly, shook my hand, and engaged in some small talk. Then she said something that unsettled me. "You're not at all how your fiancé described you." I wasn't sure if that was meant as a compliment or something else, but before I could dwell on it, she turned to my fiancé and said, "This may be harder than we thought." That statement sent alarm bells ringing in my head, but I stayed calm, keeping an awkward smile on my face. Then the therapist launched into a speech that I had no interest in hearing. My fiancé took my hand as the therapist finally got to the point. She wanted a non-traditional marriage. At first, I thought this was about maintaining independence, balancing careers, or something along those lines. But no. She meant that once we were married, she wanted to sleep with other men. However, she still expected me to be completely faithful to her, because the idea of me being with other women would break her heart. I listened in silence as they spoke with increasing confidence, as if rehearsed. When they finally finished, I calmly turned to the therapist and asked if she was licensed. Her reaction told me she wasn't expecting that question. When she confirmed that she was, I told her to explain to my fiancé why the wedding was now off and why our relationship was over effective immediately. Then I walked out, wishing them both good luck. Now I'm contemplating reporting the therapist. I don't know if I should report her to the clinic or a professional board, but I feel her conduct was unethical. Orchestrating an ambush like that doesn't seem professional at all. To be clear, no version of this conversation would have changed the outcome. Even if she had proposed an open marriage where I could also see other women, my answer would have remained the same. That's not a marriage, that's a joke. Looking back, I also wonder if she had already cheated on me. Certain things just don't add up anymore. Listening to the recording, I can't believe what was said. But one thing is clear. My ex misjudged me. I avoid unnecessary conflicts, but that doesn't mean I'm weak. I think she assumed I'd just go along with whatever she wanted. She was wrong. Now that the wedding is off, people are asking questions, and I'm unsure how to answer them. I know my ex is trying to spin the situation in her favor, but if she pushes too far, I won't hesitate to reveal what really happened. My family, especially my parents, want answers, but I don't want them to think I was a fool for letting things get this far. Meanwhile, she's been blowing up my phone, my best friend's phone, and even my brother's phone. She keeps saying, "We can fix this. I didn't understand what was happening in that session. It was the therapist's idea." Desperate words from someone who knows she's lost. We were also in the process of securing a home loan, but I canceled everything. I've erased any financial or legal ties between us. Her latest excuse is that in therapy, she shared insecurities about our past experiences and that the therapist suggested leveling the field. Whether that's true or not no longer matters. It's over, and I have no regrets. The therapist is getting reported as soon as I figure out the best way to do it. While this post is mostly event, I also need advice on handling conversations with friends and family. My ex is already spinning her own version of events, and I don't want this turning into a he said, she said situation. I have the recording, but I'm unsure if I should share it with those involved. She has no idea I have it. Update. While at work, I received confirmation that the journal had been returned to my ex. I sent it first thing in the morning via a courier service my office uses, requiring her signature upon delivery. After considering some advice, I decided that reading it wouldn't provide any clarity. She never took responsibility for anything anyway. The past 2 weeks have been a whirlwind. Last Monday, I consulted a lawyer at work regarding the therapist. His initial reaction was disbelief. He even asked if I was joking. When I offered to play the recording, his response was a firm, "Damn right." The next day, after listening to the entire recording, he pointed out something I hadn't fully grasped before. The therapist kept using phrases like, "we think," "we want," and "we decided." Not once did she frame it as, "your ex wanted me to tell you," or "your ex wants you to know." It was always a collective we. Then came the big question. What was my end goal? Did I want to sue? He didn't believe I had a strong personal case, and I agreed. I never intended to sue. I just wanted to report her so the proper institutions could handle it. We decided to draft 2 letters, one to the clinic where she works, and another to the APA, since she is accredited. By Wednesday, word had spread at work. A few more colleagues became aware, including one of our case researchers. She started digging into the therapist's background, checking online reviews, tracking down former patients via social media. What she found was concerning. This therapist had a questionable reputation. 2 former patients were eager to share their negative experiences, which weren't any better than mine. Our letters expanded to include their signed statements, a detailed breakdown of my meeting with the therapist, and an account of how my ex changed after starting therapy. By Friday, I met with my ex's parents at my parents' house for a discussion. My ex was present too. More details surfaced, some I had heard before, some new, all of which made it into the report. This week we sent the reports out. The clinic responded quickly. By Thursday morning they contacted my office, likely to verify if this was serious or a hoax. We spoke to one of their lawyers, and when they realized it was legitimate, someone in the background muttered, "Well, crap." They assured us they were taking the matter seriously. One of my colleagues theorized that this might not be the first complaint against her, but perhaps the first that was so well documented. Mentioning the APA in our report might have added pressure, prompting their swift response. I don't know what will come of this, but I consider my role in it done. However, after hearing the experiences of the other 2 individuals, I genuinely hope she gets investigated. She seems unprofessional, manipulative, and potentially harmful. She destroyed their relationships too. One of them was even a woman. For the record, meeting with my ex and her parents. Last Friday, my parents called after work asking me to drop by. When I arrived, I was surprised to see my ex and her parents already there. My first instinct was to leave. This meeting was supposed to happen on my terms. Clearly, she was trying to take control. That wasn't going to happen. She was waiting. Outside. She looked really good. The kind of girl you'd want to introduce to your parents. She told me her parents wanted to talk, implying that either she hadn't given them the full story, or they didn't believe her version. Then she handed me a journal saying she had started writing in it before therapy, and continued up until that morning. "Read it," she said. "It will clear up everything." I looked at her and said, "This isn't a book club." I was ready to go inside and get this over with. But then she asked, "Can I have 10 minutes, just 10 minutes before you talk to my parents?" She kept pushing the journal toward me. Then she started crying. At that moment, my sister and her sister stepped outside to check on us. To diffuse the situation, I took the journal, walked inside, greeted her parents, then led her to the back of the garden, away from everyone else. She told me she had quit her job. The stress broke her down, and things spiraled. She wasn't seeing that therapist anymore. Originally, she had started therapy for work-related stress, but somehow it had shifted entirely to our relationship. That became the therapist's sole focus. She never told her parents why we broke up. She's now seeing a different therapist. I just listened. Then, she did something unexpected. She offered complete transparency. She promised that I would have full control over everything: finances, access to all her devices, the ability to track her location. Any property we owned would be in my name. She would do whatever it took to rebuild trust. She listed even more concessions than I can recall now. But how did she think that would be a healthy way to live, for either of us? I asked her if she cheated. She hesitated before saying she had the opportunity, but never acted on it. I believed her, but the wording angered me. What does it even mean to have the opportunity to cheat? If you're committed, you don't allow yourself to be in situations where cheating becomes an opportunity. You don't seek it. It's like saying, I had the opportunity to kill someone today. Why? What were you doing that made it an option? And why call it an opportunity as if it were something positive? That ended our 10 minutes. I told her we needed to go inside and talk with our parents. Once inside, I asked our sisters to step out. It wasn't their business. My sister huffed. But a house made of stone survives hurricanes, and she was not one. I explained everything. The therapy session, what happened, and my stance. I didn't mention the recording. I never needed to. My ex confirmed my entire account, which surprised me. Her father teared up. That broke my heart. Her mother asked if this was how she thought they had raised her and demanded an explanation. My ex repeated her story: stress, depression, therapy, the therapist's influence. She admitted the therapist had convinced her our relationship was the root of all her stress, that I wanted an open relationship, that she needed to match my experience to keep me. My reaction snapped her out of it. She quit her job. She's looking for something less stressful. She would do anything to fix things. She started crying again. She brought up the journal again, insisting it would explain everything, that she never agreed with the therapist's ideas but went along with them because the therapist was an authority figure. Our parents turned to me. I took a deep breath and simply said, "Someone's private journal isn't the type of literature I read. The therapist is officially being reported. Just a matter of figuring out where and how. This post is mostly a vent, but I'd also like advice on handling questions from friends and family. My ex is likely spinning her own version of events, and I don't want this to turn into a he said, she said mess. I have a recording, and I'm debating whether to send it to those involved. She doesn't know I have it. Update: I just got confirmation that the journal has been returned to my ex. I sent it early this morning using the courier service our office works with, and she had to sign for it. After reflecting on some advice, I realized reading it wouldn't change anything. She never took accountability for any of this anyway. It's been a wild 2 weeks since my initial post. Last Monday, I consulted a lawyer at work regarding the therapist situation. His initial reaction? He thought I was joking. When I offered to play the recording, his response was a blunt, "Damn right." The next day, after he listened to the entire thing, he pointed out something unsettling. Throughout the recording, the therapist kept using we think, we want, we decided. Never once did she say, "Your ex wanted me to tell you," or "Your ex thinks," or it was always we. Then came the big question. What's your endgame? Do you want to sue? He didn't think I had a strong personal case, and I agreed. I never intended to sue. My goal was simply to report her and let the appropriate institutions handle it. So we drafted 2 letters, one to the clinic where she works and one to the APA. We verified that she was accredited. By Wednesday, word spread at work. A few more colleagues learned about the situation, including one of our case researchers. She dug into the therapist's background, checking online reviews, even tracking down 2 former patients through social media. Turns out, this therapist already had a bad reputation. Both former patients were eager to share their experiences. Once we explained the situation, their stories were just as bad, if not worse, than mine. The letters grew longer, incorporating statements from these individuals, a detailed account of my meeting with the therapist, and an analysis of how my ex's behavior changed after starting therapy. Then came Friday. I met with my ex's parents, at my own parents' house for the talk. My ex was there too. More details surfaced, some I had heard before, some I hadn't. And yes, everything made its way into the therapist report. This week, we sent out the reports. The clinic reacted fast. By Thursday morning, they contacted our office, probably to check if this was some kind of prank. We ended up speaking with one of their lawyers. Once we confirmed it was a real issue, we overheard someone in the background mutter, "Well, crap." They assured us they were taking it seriously. One of my colleagues had a theory. They've likely had complaints before, but this was the first time someone had documented everything so thoroughly. Our letter also mentioned that we were reporting to the APA, which may have added pressure, prompting their quick reaction. I don't know what will come of this. My part is done. But after hearing what the other two former patients endured, I sincerely hope she gets investigated, because she sounds dangerous. She wrecked their relationships too. Then came my ex and her parents. Last Friday, my parents called after work, asking me to stop by. When I arrived, surprise, my ex and her parents were already there. My first instinct was to turn around. This meeting was supposed to be on my terms, but she clearly wanted control. That wasn't happening. She was waiting outside, and she looked incredible. If there was ever a girl you'd want your parents to meet, she was it. Hair done the way I liked it, wearing a dress I bought for her, shoes I always complimented, a hint of the perfume I gifted her. It was calculated. She told me her parents wanted to talk. Either she never told them the full story, or she gave them a version they didn't buy. Then she handed me a journal. She said she had been writing it since before therapy, up until that very morning. Read it, she said. It will clear up everything. I looked at her and said, this isn't a book club. I was ready to head inside and get this circus over with. But then she asked for 10 minutes alone before we spoke to her parents. Then she started crying. My sister and hers stepped outside to check on us. So I took the journal, went inside, greeted everyone, and led my ex to the back of the garden, away from prying ears. She quit her job. The stress got to her. She had a breakdown. Therapy didn't help. It made things worse. The therapist fixated on our relationship instead of her work stress. My ex never told her parents why we broke up. She's now seeing a new therapist. Then, she made an offer, control over finances, access to all her devices, tracking everywhere she goes, properties in my name. Basically, complete control to earn my trust back. I asked if she cheated. She said she had the opportunity but never did. I believe her, but the wording infuriated me. Opportunity. You don't put yourself in a position where an opportunity arises. That's not how commitment works. That ended our 10 minutes. We went inside and talked with our parents. My ex confirmed everything I said, which shocked me. Her father teared up. Her mother was furious, demanding explanations. My ex repeated her story. Stress, breakdown, therapy. The therapist insisting. I wanted an open relationship. The moment she realized she needed to leave therapy. She mentioned the journal again. Our parents looked at me expectantly. I told them, someone's private journal is not literature I read, unless they're a dead poet. That landed poorly. Everyone looked at me like I'd wished death on my ex. Hostility thickened the air. So, I conceded. Fine, I'll read it. You win some, you lose some. And sometimes you say the wrong thing and lose a few more. Her new therapist is an older man, married, well-credentialed, and seemingly respectable. Her parents asked, can you two work this out? That irritated me. As if this were some playground spat. As if betrayal is something you can just work out. We've been together for 5 years, known each other for 9. Even if her behavior had a psychological basis, how do you just go back? This wasn't a reset. My perception of her had fundamentally shifted. She became a stranger I knew too well. I still find her attractive, no denying that. But the way she looked that night wasn't just natural. It was strategic. The journal sits on my nightstand. I haven't read it and probably never will. I did check its authenticity. It's real. A year's worth of wear and tear. The ink fades progressively. The attached pen's ink level aligns with a year's use. It's not fake, but what good would reading it do? People keep asking why the wedding is off. I keep my response simple. A major difference of opinion we couldn't reconcile. But if her sister finds out the truth, and she likely will, the whole family will know soon enough, parents want another meeting next week. They think the journal might help us start fresh, that she can recover, that she's still the woman I fell in love with. They think I still love her, or else I wouldn't be so dramatic. Their words, not mine. I don't think I'll go next. Friday, but damn, she did look amazing. Thanks to this community for the support and guidance. Your insights helped me take action against that therapist. Appreciate all of you. Les.